All right, and we are officially live. Welcome to Shut Up and Invest. We are back again. Jay Money's in the house. What's up, my friend?
What's going on, Kevin, man? How you doing? How's your
You
week going
know,
so far?
another day in another day in quarantine life. We're now coming up to apparently the last week before we start as a city going into phase one reopening. So I'm interested in seeing how that's gonna play out. But there's been a lot of news on the economy side that we can talk about a little bit today before we get into the premise of the show. If you're joining
Definitely.
us, we're gonna be talking about what's the topic today?
We're going to be going over another exit strategy we use in our creative financing, talking about how we wholesale seller finance notes, right? So like wholesale land contract, contract for deed, or a traditional note. We're going to go over that today.
So basically, it's instead of flipping the property, it's flipping the mortgage.
Flipping the paper, just flipping the paper. Yep,
There
definitely.
you go. Now, funny enough, that's a lot of the issues going on in the lending industry because banks, when they lend the money, they're selling the notes, they're selling the mortgage, and that's what's creating mortgage-backed securities. And these
Yep.
last few weeks, we talked about it in earlier shows. We were waiting to see how the banks were going to react to the fact that Fannie and Freddie said, hey, we're still going to buy those notes from you. We're still going to buy these mortgages from you, even if people go into forbearance. But we're going to tax you 7% on it. So, how is the bank going to react to that? Then we had the FHFA say, hey, if you guys haven't, as a banking servicing company, collected at least 4 months of consecutive payments, we'll step in and bail you out. Okay, so how does the banking industry react to that? So we've seen them kind of chill out. We've seen them kind of not continue to tighten up. I think what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing from the way they're reacting with the interest rates and the way they're treating mortgages is they're going to try to take advantage of the fact that the countries are starting to open up and there's going to be these phases, and they're going to try to get in as much business as possible in these next 60 to 90 days of good quality A paper type loans or paper type notes. And this is going to be relevant to what we're talking about now from a creative financing side, because there's still banks that are what they call giving overlays on the guidelines, meaning they're making the rules more strict. Some of them have tightened up and loosened up because of, all right, we got some type of a safety net. It's not the best bailout. It's not the best safety net like we talked about in weeks before, but it's something. It's at least giving us some type of certainty that we can depend on if things get really bad. So they're slowly going to get a little bit more aggressive in these next 60 to 90 days until this forbearance period stops. And then they're going to start paying attention to the unemployment and the amount of defaults. Now, what does that all mean? That all means that on the creative side, we're going to have a lot of opportunity for people that do not fit into this box, that do not fit as what they call beautiful walk on water, A
Traditional A
paper
paper.
type loans.
Yeah, definitely. And what are you seeing banks say? I mean, I just saw yesterday about the new stimulus bill that might be passed here this week, which has extensions on the forbearance. It had up to a year on the forbearance. So how are banks taking that? Because we all know investors in general don't like uncertainty. They like to know what the future is going to hold for them. So, I mean, what do you think banks are doing as far as reacting to that?
Again, the reality here is politicians can suggest all they want, but
Yeah,
now
definitely.
what does that mean to the lending institution, the economy? And remember, there's pension plans out there, meaning people that depend on these mortgage backed investments. This is where, when you pay your mortgage, when we start connecting the dots, this can lead all the way back out to people's retirement funds. And this is what people invest money in. And this is what the market is based on. So when you say let's stop paying one way, then you
It trickles
plug
down.
one hole and then
Yep.
there's another hole on the other side, right? So I think sometimes people think that it's like the bank with Scrooge McDuck, at the top of it with all this money. If you're old school, you know who Scrooge McDuck is. If you're new school, then it's like, I don't know who's the paid cartoon or paid Piper nowadays.
I have the cartoons nowadays are weird. My daughter watches other kids play with toys on YouTube. They don't even have cartoons anymore. So
Yeah, we're out of touch. We're out of touch. But anyways, whoever the big money bags is, and the reality is most banking flip the notes, and that's something that we're gonna really harp in, and that's kind of what our VIP group and the people that we really deal with. And if you want to be a part of that, definitely plug in, reach out to us. We really focus on the creative side of doing it because the banks are not doing anything that is rocket science. And once you understand it, you just do it at a smaller level. You do it in your neighborhood, you do it in your town, you do it, within your resources, and you can make the same amount of profit margins that they make. They just do it, on a mass level nationwide.
You can make a bigger profit margin, actually. I mean, per deal, they're the spread or the yield per deal is probably bigger in the creative side. But what you said is true, right? Banks buy a loan, they chop the loan up at times, they service it off, they sell it off, right? We do some of the same stuff, right? You can do it as a private individual or a bank. You just have to know the tools. You need to know, the systems and the tools in place to originate that note, and then to go out and find out who wants to buy that note. When you find those things out, I mean, you're basically doing the same type of business the bank is doing. That's what we've been doing for years.
Yeah. Did you have something you wanted to share on the screen today, or you just wanted to explain?
Yeah, we can share some stuff. So I got a couple PowerPoints we can share. Basically what we're going to get into right now is showing you how we lock a deal up with wholesale terms, right? Then we put that wholesale deal through a couple different tests of what it best fits for us as far as an exit strategy, right? Wholesaling is not always the best exit strategy, and it's actually like the least one that I do the most. We're always trying to either hold the property if we can, either as a rental property or as a note, right? But sometimes if we don't want to hold it or we want to raise some cash, we need to sell that property off, right? So you can wholesale a property to a traditional end buyer and make a good wholesale fee. But I've actually learned that you can actually create a note with that property you have locked up and then sell that note to a note buyer and actually double what I would usually get in a wholesale fee, right? So we'll just kind of go over a couple of examples of how, we've got a property in a wholesale deal and then sold it off as a note to a note buyer.
Now, when you hear us talk about exit strategies, guys, all we really mean by that is how can I get out of this deal making a nice amount of money? And we try to basically compare different exit strategies. Sometimes an exit strategy might make you more money, like for example, flipping. If you fix the property up and you do this, but then do I want to spend the time? Do I want to do the work? And do I want to run the headaches of dealing with permitting and the issues and this and that to make what you think is more money? When you divide the time it took you into that, it might not be the most profitable exit strategy when you compare either wholesaling the property, which is wholesaling the contract, or wholesaling the mortgage or wholesaling the note, which is what we're talking about right now.
Got it. So I'll share my screen real quick.
If you guys are listening to the audio when this comes out, you can find this on YouTube. So make sure you go to our channel and show us a little love, but we'll describe it from an audio standpoint too. That makes sense. All right, we're live. We see you.
Got it. All right. So this property right here, right? This is one of our properties where we actually wholesaled the seller financing note. Okay. So we got this property
present so that it takes up most of the screen.
Yeah. Here we go. There you go. You can see that?
Yep.
Okay. We locked this property up under contract for $18,000. Okay. Let me go back. Right. When we ran through on this property, we figured we could probably make 20. We could probably wholesale it for about 25 or 28,000. And make maybe $10,000 profit after closing costs or some other fees or getting hassled down. Might be a little bit less. So what we decided to do was, see if we can find a land contract, right, or contract for deed buyer on this property, lock that land contract buyer up under contract, and then go sell the note to a note buyer. All right. So what we're doing is we're actually tying this property up as a wholesale property first, like we tie up every other property. Then we're saying, is this property best for us to keep it as a rental property? Do we just wholesale it off to an end buyer, right? Or we do a couple extra steps, right? A couple extra steps to make, $10,000 more to us, seem like a no-brainer. And these aren't a whole bunch of more steps, but it is a couple more steps, right? So what we actually have to do is we actually have to go market this property to a seller financing land contract buyer. So our marketing changes, right? We're not marketing it for $28,000 cash, right? We're marketing it for whatever the price is with a down payment on it with the land contract terms.
So on this particular deal, you had it for $18,000. You could have flipped the contract for 25 to 28, made a quick 10,000. But so you put the contract down because you knew you had that exit strategy ready to go no matter what. But at the same time, you start marketing this as a property that you can sell with seller financing tied to it, correct?
Correct, right? So we didn't buy the house, right? It's still locked up under a wholesale contract, but our marketing was to market to a seller financing buyer instead of marketing to a fix and flip or a rental cash buyer. That's how we did it.
And then you found somebody that said, "Hey, I want to buy this deal. I'm interested in the seller financing. What are the terms?"
Got it. Yep. So we found a buyer. We probably marketed, I think, for $50,000, but we found a buyer pretty quickly who agreed to the following terms. They agreed to pay $47,000, $4,000 as a down payment, 10% interest on a 10-year term. Right. So that means that we now have a note. Right. We have a note under contract with a loan balance of $43,000. You can see right there.
All right. So hold on, so that people get it. Once you have a buyer that says, "I'm cool with buying this at $47,000, I'll give you $4,000 for the next 10 years. I'll pay you at a 10% interest rate." You now have a mortgage or a mortgage note. A note basically is the paper that says this is what the terms are and this is what the mortgage is going to be for $43,000. The difference between the down payment and the purchase price at 10% for 10 years. And now you have this note that you're looking to flip, essentially.
Exactly, right? So, yes, now we have the note tied up that we're looking to go find the actual note buyer. Note buyer is an investor who wants to hold the paper, right? They want to be the bank. We talked about this many times. They don't want to be a landlord and deal with tenants, right? But they still want some good cash flow, monthly income, and they would rather hold the paper, right? So there's
somebody like me. This is what we do. I love this. This is what I don't gotta fix a toilet, and I still get a monthly check. Where you call me?
Call you. Exactly. People like Kevin, right? Kevin can be in Miami and own a note like he does in Michigan or Pennsylvania or Indiana, right? And they have to worry about getting any calls in the middle of the night kind of repairs, right? Can't have to pay the taxes or the insurance on the property. He just gets a principal and interest payment per month at a fixed rate, right? And this one, it would be 10% paid. Well, it's 10% on the $43,000 balance. Actually, his yield is more than that. But we'll get into that in a minute. But it's a fixed rate as long as they pay on time every month, and there's no headaches of being a landlord. Okay. So the balance was $43,000, right? We found a note buyer who would pay 80% of the balance. Okay. Meaning the note is for $43,000. He'd pay 80% of that, which we came up to $34,400. Okay.
Now, so that for me as a note buyer is super attractive because I'm paying $34,400 for a mortgage that's worth $43,000. That means if the person turns around and refinances or sells the property right off the jump, if let's say it takes them 2, 3, 6 months, a year to do that, I quickly make almost $10,000 right there. About what? $8,600 quickly on $34,400 without, having to do any work behind it. So I'm already built in with a profit margin. And if they do start paying me 10% interest every single month, I add that to the profit.
Definitely. And we didn't go deep on this side until like what the note buyer gets in this. We'll do that for another what I got as a wholesaler, but Kevin's going to win. He's going to make more and more money than the wholesaler does in this deal if they pay it through term, right? So we're selling a note at a slight discount, 80%, right? That's enticing to a note buyer because you're getting at a discount, right? And this house is worth, ARV probably about $55,000. So there's a lot of benefits in there for the note buyer, okay? And this is how we get paid. Remember, we have not bought this property. It's locked up as a wholesale. So my note buyer agrees to pay $34,400, right? Our wholesale price is $18,000. We add in there about $1,000 for closing costs. So all in, we're at about $19,000. When we go to close, my note buyer is going to pay the $18,000 for the property, right? And the difference is going to be an assignment fee to me on a closing statement. So we walked away with $15,400 as an assignment fee from this deal, okay? But paid again because that down payment we got of $4,000 does not the note buyer. He's buying a note for $43,000. That's what he's buying. He's not buying the down payment. So that down payment of $4,000 also goes to me. So we get a total fee on this whole deal of $19,400, and we basically doubled our profit by creating a note and selling the note instead of just wholesaling the property.
Yeah, you almost doubled. You could have wholesaled the property for $10,000 like we talked about, but now you're walking away with $19,400 because you put together the creative financing and you flipped the mortgage instead of just the contract.
Exactly.
It's doing the extra step, the one extra step to be able to find someone that accepts those terms. Now you have a sexier package than just a good deal. Now you have a good deal with already a good mortgage and with a good person willing and a buyer. And then now you're putting it in a bow and gift wrapping it and giving it to somebody who wants to be the lender on it, who wants to collect the payments, who wants to make 10% back on their money, which is anybody with a self-directed IA. They're looking to get their money back on their money because they have to self-direct, meaning they have to self-manage their money in the IRA. They need to find a return on investment. So people like that are always looking for deals like this. All the private lenders out there, we are underwriting deals and looking for deals to make a return on investment on our money. So we're looking for this. Anyone who's lost a lot of money in the stock market, especially now more than ever, they're pissed. They don't want to keep taking these hits. They're going to want to be able to do this and take their money out of the market and be able to get a safe and sound. Now, there is always a risk on every single investment. There's pros and cons on every single investment, whether you're in stock market or you're in real estate. The difference is here, the con is the person doesn't pay you the mortgage, and now you foreclose and you take over that property, deal with whatever the property situation is, but then you recover and either sell it for a profit or rent it or do seller financing again. You have a relationship with the people that brought you the deal in the first place. Call them again and say, hey, you got someone else for this?
Yeah, we've actually done it before. I mean, we've had deals where we sold the note, right, to one of our note buyers, and then he had the actual homeowner, right, didn't even default. The homeowner just needed to move, and he actually contacted the seller and said, hey, I need to move to a different area, and we actually got that homeowner another land contract deal like that in a different area where we did that whole process again, and then we sold the original home to another buyer, right, because that's what we're able to do. So when they default on the note, you go through a foreclosure. So it's not an eviction. You go through a foreclosure process, right? So it might be a little bit longer of a process. But again, Kevin's 34 grand is secured by a property, right? And I know investors who will do this 3-4 times in one house, right? It's long-term income for them without the headaches of being a landlord,
Yeah. And here's the difference. That person right now in your phone, because this is where your money's at, guys. If you look through your phone right now, there is contacts in there. If you go through your Facebook, there's contacts in there. If you go through your LinkedIn, there's contacts in there that are currently losing money in their 401k, currently losing money in their stocks. And they do not have the control to be able to go and say, okay, let me make my investment recover and work. If they lose like they have lost. They're waiting for something to happen out of their control to be able to recover their money, if they even recover, depending on which stocks and where the money was invested. Here, if I'm the lender on this note, and God forbid this person stops paying me and I have to foreclose on it, I have control. I'm self-directing my fate and my future, where I can then get the people involved, fix it up if it needs to get fixed up, rent it, sell it, or go back and do it again, like we just explained, and get another seller financing deal on this and have them fix up the property and do all the headaches. So there's so many options that I have control over, that when I'm putting my money elsewhere, that's directed by boardroom and stockholders and funds and people that I do not even know.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you feel more comfortable putting your money?
Definitely. There's a question right here I see, and I have another example we'll get to after we answer some questions. But this, they ask, how do you find self-directed IRAs and high net worth individuals to market these notes to?
Great question.
Before we answer that, me and Kevin are part of a group. You've seen us advertise it. It's Raising Private Money. Our buddies Steve Trang and Dave Day are doing it. We've been going over exactly how to find these guys in that group for the last 2 weeks. And me and Kevin have already been building lists of these guys in every market that we're in, right? One of the main ways is you can search public records, right? Then when you would use a self-directed IRA, right? Let's say my IRA is Jory Alston IRA, whatever. That's what owns the property, not my personal name, not my LLC, right? A self-directed IRA, you have to have a third party who facilitates everything for you, right? They sign the documents, everything. You can actually find these in public records. You can search for them in public records. That's one easy way to see who are the people that are using self-directed IRAs to buy real estate in your market, right? You can also reach out to these actual self-directed IRA companies. Like there's a Quest IRA, there's different ones out there. Reach out to them, try to get in touch with someone there, try to build some rapport with one of the reps and tell them what you do, right? And have them try to funnel you some investors and some deals. Those are two easy ways.
They hold events all the time. They hold networking events. They hold dinners and parties because they want people in their network to have self-directed IRAs to mingle and try to do joint ventures, because think about it. It's in their best interest for their clients to get good, profitable return on investment. So they know by creating opportunities and people speaking and going in together on various deals, most of them and a lot of them being involved in real estate, that's to their benefit because they don't want clients to stop using their services of managing the paperwork behind the self-directed IRAs. So that's why it's in their benefit to host these gatherings and these trainings. And when you go there and you network, they may not directly recommend somebody because it's a conflict of interest and they don't want to be liable if, God forbid, they ever recommend someone that's doing shady business. But they do create the platforms to give you plenty of opportunity to go in there and do your thing. And again, that's when you're talking directly with them. But I guarantee you, in your phone and in your database, if you go down the line and have these conversations with people and you're just checking in, like I literally do this every single day. It's part of my smart money daily habits. I am having conversations that go very similar to, hey, what's up, man? How are you? Just checking in. How you surviving this whole pandemic? Just wanted to make sure things were okay. How's the family? Okay, and I get the response back, awesome. And what's up? What is people saying in your world? What is people saying at your job? What's going on the, the career front? Then I'll hear, and I'm paying attention, and I got my ears open because as they're telling me their stories and what they're hearing, usually it'll lead to, man, and can you believe, because my job, this and that, and these people are investing, are not investing. This is what they think. This is what they feel. And my 401k took a hit, and boom, once I hear those things, I know who's investing, who's not investing, where they think the future is going to be as far as money and where their career is going to be, what they're looking for. And then they'll tell me something major like I lost money in the market, or I lost my job, or I lost the money in my 401k, whatever that might be. And that's where I can now come in and educate them on this conversation right now. And that's just by going down the line and calling everybody and just having a normal human being conversation.
Yeah, another great source too is if you're buying homes from people right now, right? Those sellers, you should ask every one of them after you close, right? Hey, what is your plan with those funds, right? Are you interested in being a private lender? I had a conversation this morning with a guy. We're closing a house this week, and we're actually buying one for cash, and then we're buying three, right, on seller financing from him. So I already know he's open to seller financing because we're buying 3 out of the 4 on those terms. You have cash. So today he called me. We're getting some title stuff worked on. I just asked him, hey, what's your plan with these funds? After you get this, I know you're doing the 3 on seller financing. Would you be interested in, doing some private financing with the funds from that deal? He said actually, he's using some to develop the property, but then what he has left over, he's gonna talk to his wife and get back to me. Right? That right there can be a private lender for me for who knows how long, just by asking the question.
No, what you did is you plant the seed, and that's, I think, where a lot of the frustration comes with people, that they have these conversations and they may not get a check right away, and then they think, oh, this doesn't work. And what you got to understand is that this is all about farming. You got to plant the seeds, because that conversation that he just had, or a conversation like the one I just explained, then 6 months later, a year later, 2 years later, hey man, you remember when you asked me, hey, I'm reaching out because now I came into some money, or I inherited some money, or I cashed out my 401k, and you were mentioning something about being able to just be the bank and I don't have to deal with being a landlord. Can you tell me more about that? Or, hey, you got any more deals I can finance for you? And boom, that's how you start raising your capital on building your business for years to come. So don't just think I need to hit a home run on the first conversation. One of us is saying you put an end buyer into property with terms. Exactly. That's the name of the game.
Correct. So when you wholesale a property, you just wholesaling the property to a cash buyer, right? In this transaction, we're going to market that property on terms to a seller financing buyer, right? Get that deal wrapped up and then present that whole note to our note buyer, right? We get it wrapped up on the contract, present it to our note buyer, right? Here's the terms of the note, right? We have a list of note buyers buying notes, present that, and see who buys it, right? And that's pretty much what we do.
And guys, this happens all the time with, for example, when you buy a car, you don't have all the money for the car. So what do? You go ahead and you finance it. They give you terms, whether you're leasing or buying it. You are accepting terms. So this can easily happen on buying a property direct from a seller and then selling it to someone else. You're just cutting out the Wells Fargo, the Chase, and the normal mortgage companies that everybody thinks, and you're working out terms agreements between yourself. Everything gets registered in public records. A title company does everything just like they would whether Wells Fargo or Chase was involved, and you have the same recourse to be able to pick up the property and foreclose on them if they don't pay you. It's exactly the same, except you are the bank.
Exactly. I think people have a hard time realizing that they can do the same thing a bank does, right? The number one thing I get with this is, well, how can you do that? You do it with banks and with lenders and with cars and with student loans every day of your life, right? They don't have a superpower where they can do it and we can't. You just have to know the words and the tools to use to create that note. And anything can be a note. Kevin can sell me that hat for $10 with $1 down. I gotta pay him.
We gotta talk about that negotiation, bro. It's more than $10. This is the Yankees right here.
Yankee hat. I like the Yankees, but we can come to terms on that hat, right? He just became the bank and he financed that hat to me, So anybody can do it. This question right here: how do you know when to use the seller financing strategy? Well, for me, I put every single deal right through 4 basic, evaluations. Do I want to, right, just wholesale it? Do I want to hold as a rental? Right? Do I want to buy it and keep it for myself and create a note and get that cash for myself? Or is it good to just wholesale it, right? Create the note and then wholesale the note, right? And I mean, I'll be honest with me, like 90% of the time, my stuff is seller financing strategy. That's just what I do because I seem to make more money using creative terms. I'll say if the house needs a ton of work, I'm not really into doing full-on rehabs right now. So I'll figure out a way to, seller finance, wrap it to somebody else who will. Here's the number one thing for you to think of. if it's a deal that you lock up, right, and you put it through your wholesale, whatever formula, and it's too tight for wholesaling, you definitely go to the seller financing strategy, right? Like that deal before right there, I just showed you. I could have made 8 to 10 grand, as a wholesale. But if I do what we did, create the note and sell the note, I double my money. So a lot of deals I lock up, a normal wholesaler won't even touch because they say, oh, it's too tight. I can't make any money on that, right? When you learn how to use creative finance, we're trying to teach you this. When you learn how to use creative financing, you can double the deals you lock up because you know how to use strategies, right, to move that deal. We said before, our buyer pool with seller financing, creative financing, is probably triple the pool that Kevin mentioned earlier today that can go traditional, right? The banks already said they're looking for AAA, A grade, good paper. That means everybody else who doesn't fit, they're not loaning to, right? Private lenders are not loaning right now. The hedge funds are loaning right now. The hard money isn't loaning right now. There's a ton of buyers who can qualify for seller financing.
Yeah. A good way also to know if you can use the strategy is if the person you're buying from doesn't owe a mortgage on there, you can negotiate seller financing terms, and just offering it on every single deal. Hey, would you consider? Hey, would you consider? And that's it. If they say, well, how does that work? Or, you know what? Sure. Like, give them both options. Look, we can make it work. Cash this way, seller financing this way, and then constantly be marketing for a buyer's list that wants seller financing deals. So if you constantly have a waiting line, think about this. If you constantly have signs out on the street, Facebook ads, posting on Craigslist, lease option to buy or seller financing, and you constantly have phone calls coming in on a weekly basis. Hey, do you have anything? Oh man, I just sold it, but I have a few more that I'm negotiating. Tell me what you're looking for. Okay, sounds good. If I lock these deals up, I'll call you back, but I'll keep you on my waiting list. Now you constantly have a waiting line of 4, 5, 10, 15, 20 people that are saying, hey, the next seller financing deal you have available. And even if they're looking for lease option to buy, most people think they're looking for lease option to buy because they don't understand that they could buy it with seller financing. So market to both and create the waiting list. And then the minute you get a deal that you can negotiate those terms and lock it up and then turn around and they can accept it and give you the down payment, now go ahead and start working your money contacts to flip that mortgage note, and boom, you just created exactly what we did.
I mean, every day I get about 4 to 5 calls or emails from people looking for a seller finance deal. I mean, this morning I got 2 emails, a phone call. I got a text just right now before we got on, right, asking me, hey, do you have any seller finance deals, right? So once you start putting the properties out there on your website or however you market that you offer those terms, the buyers will rush to you. They'll rush to you. Just keep marketing your deals.
Are we structuring the seller financing with your attorney or title company? Yes, whoever's closing the deal is structuring those terms for us. So this is, this, like I said, this is exactly like the big banks do it. And we're letting the attorneys and the title companies handle the process. We're just handing them over the information. Shoot them over an email. Hey, here's the contract. Here's the terms, exactly the way you saw we outlined it. He's going to buy it at $43,000. He's going to give me $47,000. He's going to give me $4,000 down payment at a 10% interest rate for the next 10 years. Can you write up a note for that? And they'll take care of all the paperwork. They might charge the extra fee for preparing the lender package, essentially the mortgage note, but it's taken care of all legally, done correctly, registered and recorded in public records.
Definitely. Because remember, this is a land contract. This is in Michigan. That land contract memorandum is recorded, right, at the county, and that's on public record, right? So it will still show me as holding the deed, and it'll show my name, but a memorandum there. So I can't go sell this property to Kevin for $25,000. I don't have the right to sell the property. The homeowner has the right to sell the property, right? And they can't sell it to somebody else without me being paid off what is owed to me. Right. So that's why you definitely want to use title companies, attorneys, whoever you use, and go through the same process you would on any other deal.
And if you're doing contract for deed, it would be the same exact thing. If I was closing it here in Florida, I lock up that other contract with the seller who was selling to me at, the price at $100,000. and then I would market the property with seller financing at 140,000, get the $10,000 down payment, double close on it that same day, and be able to, make that spread on that money when I sell it when I flip the note to someone that wants to hold on to it and make, whatever terms I agreed with the person that probably called me looking for an option, a lease option. I got a call, and that's another good strategy. Talk to all your lenders in your community, because I get calls. I got a call on Friday. Hey, listen, we're looking to make a couple, save some more money, this and that. We're thinking about a lease option to buy. If you have anything, let me know. That was his initial thought, and calling me about lease option to buy programs instead of qualifying for a mortgage right away. That's someone that I have in my database marked as lease option to buy. That way, the next deal that comes across, we can do this type of thing. So this can be done in any market.
Definitely. Any market.
Yeah.
Any market.
All right, my brother. I think we're good. I think we made we got through all the questions. Yep, we're good.
All right, guys. Hey, again, listen, we just want you guys to kind of see how, adding some different tools to your tool belt can make you do more deals, right? Our buyer pool is so much larger than the average wholesaler, right? The deals we can take down from sellers is so much wider than the average wholesaler, right? We're doing way more than wholesale. Wholesale is a good start, but you want to expand on that, and especially in whatever times we're going to with lending getting tighter, right? You want to make sure that you're adding creative financing tools, to your arsenal. You have to have them.
Here we have one of our YouTube viewers is saying he's having a hard time finding a title company or attorney that does creative deals. He's in the Baltimore, Maryland area. So two things. I actually can connect you with players in that area. I have good contacts there. So shoot us a message on our social media, and I'll be happy to connect you with them. But anybody who feels that way, here's my challenge to you. How many attorneys are you sitting with and having that conversation with? Just because you meet with 5, 6, 7, and they're traditional, they may not be familiar with this. A lot of attorneys stick to their wheelhouse. If they're closing a lot of deals in the residential side, cookie cutter, 1, 2, 3, conventional FHA, they may not want to deal with creative financing and anything that takes them outside of their moneymaker. That doesn't mean it's not legal, and it doesn't mean that it can't be done. So I challenge you to meet with as many attorneys as you can, many title companies as you can, until you find the right one. Go to your real estate association local meetings. They're usually there sponsoring, and they are specific to the niche of investors and creative financing. So trust me, there's people in your market, but you can't give up after the first 4 or 5 people tell you, nah, that can't be done, or nah, there's problems with that. And because remember, attorneys will always give you advice. Whether it's right or wrong is a whole different thing. They're just going to give you advice of what their experience is.
Definitely. Same thing with realtors. It's hard to find a realtor that knows creative stuff, right? So if you find a realtor who does creative financing or investment real estate, I'm sure they'll know a title company who does it. Also, I know a couple nationwide companies who focus on sub-2 deals and creative financing too. So we definitely have resources for you if you need them.
Yeah, subject to, that's another show we've done, but we'll continue to do them, and we got title companies and contacts for that. So slide in our DMs and we'll connect you guys. Go to shutupandinvest.com, sign up there for the tools, the tricks. We got a training that we're finishing up actually during this quarantine. It's going to be completely free for you guys of how we generate leads and the contracts and all our, all the foundation of this. And then we have a higher level mentorship of creative financing, raising capital, and these type of conversations. So reach out to us. We'd be happy to partner with you on these deals and connect you with the right people in your markets.
Sounds good. All right, Kevin. Appreciate the time, man.
We're out of here, brother. All right.
All right.